The mysteries of the universe have fascinated the minds of the masses for eons. Are we the only intelligent life in the universe? Are we actually intelligent life? Are there different planes of existence between multiple dimensions? Is the universe expanding or contracting? Do astronomers even know what they're talking about? Since ancient times, people have mapped the stars and tried to make sense of the heavens. They've utilized the stars to keep track of time, distance, create mathematical equations, build incredible structures. Well, our universe just got a lot more confusing. A massive galaxy was just monitored completely going dark and dying off. What does that mean? Well, let's go into this article out of The Independent, which says, scientists perplexed by huge, mysterious, monster galaxy that suddenly went dark. And as the article goes into, scientists have been left puzzled by a vast monster galaxy that mysteriously went dark. The web of stars known as XMM 2599 existed about 12 billion years ago in the early days of the universe, when it was only about 1.8 billion years old. It spewed out a vast number of stars in its short life, and then it suddenly stopped. That rapid and unexplained death has puzzled astronomers who say the vast galaxy does not fit with our existing models of the early universe. And I quote, even before the universe was 2 billion years old, XMM 2599 had already formed a mass of more than 300 billion suns, making it an ultramassive galaxy, said Benjamin Forrest, the lead author of the study, in a statement. And I quote, more remarkably, we show that XMM 2599 formed most of its stars in a huge frenzy when the universe was less than 1 billion years old and then became inactive by the time the universe was only 1.8 billion years old. Scientists are unable to explain how the galaxy came to exist and then very quickly stopped existing. It challenges our models of how the early universe exists, they say, and could lead to dramatic changes in our understanding of how stars form and stop forming. In this epoch, very few galaxies have stopped forming stars, and none are as massive as XMM 2599, said Gillian Wilson, a professor of physics and astronomy at University of California, Riverside, where the research was being conducted. And I quote, the mere existence of ultra-massive galaxies like XMM 2599 prove quite a challenge to numerical models. Even though such massive galaxies are incredibly rare at this epoch, the models do predict them. The predicted galaxies, however, are expected to be actively forming stars. And I quote, what makes XMM 2599 so interesting, unusual, and surprising is that it is no longer forming stars, perhaps because it stopped getting fuel or its black hole began to turn on. Our results call for changes in how models turn off star formations in early galaxies. At its peak, the galaxy was forming stars equivalent to more than 1,000 of our own suns each year. That is incredibly fast for any galaxy, with our Milky Way forming about 1 star each year. Because the galaxy is so far away, it has been spotted from a time when the universe was very young. That means that by the present day, it could have become something altogether different and likely equally spectacular. And I quote, we have caught XMM 2599 in its inactive phase, Wilson said. We do not know what it will turn into by the present day. And I quote, we know it cannot lose mass. An interesting question is, what happens around it? As time goes by, could it gravitationally attract nearby star-forming galaxies and become a bright city of galaxies? Now, the team behind the discovery hopes to use the high-tech equipment at the Keck Observatory to delve more into the galaxy and hopefully answer the questions thrown up by the bizarre clump of stars. And I quote, we identified XMM 2599 as an interesting candidate with imaging alone, said co-author Mariana Annunziatella, a postdoctoral researcher at Tufts University. We use Keck to better characterize and confirm its nature and help us understand how monster galaxies form and die. Breaking away from the article, I can't help but think of how little we all know. It would be nice if more major scientific figureheads would come out and admit we know next to nothing about the universe. If this story goes against existing models, then clearly and demonstrably the models are wrong. We are looking back in time at this massive behemoth of a galaxy. Insane amounts of stars have been eaten up, and the galaxy has simply died. Why? What caused it? I tend to be extremely skeptical when it comes to almost anything a scientist tells me. It's not because I think they're wrong. I just have a hard time trusting that they're right. Especially considering the level of stubbornness in the scientific community when it comes to sticking to mantras and not examining new evidence all too often that debunks long-held preconceived notions. We see that in all fields of science, from climate and atmosphere to issues such as archaeology and carbon dating. One of the greatest things about the mystery of life itself is the search for the answers. We'll never truly solve most of the mysteries, but it's a journey that matters, and there's something so incredibly human about that search for answers. That inquisitive nature is likely just that, nature. It's ingrained in us to question and problem solve. As many have pointed out, we're essentially machines. Computers, if you will, calculating data at rocket speed via antennas we call brains. They're taking in frequencies like radio and making sense of things. Everyone's receiver is slightly different, and every computer generates slightly different conclusions to the data they're receiving. It's kind of like the difference between a $100 laptop and a $5,000, gaming machine. Many believe that frequency we're receiving, at least a large part of it, is consciousness itself, that we're all connected by this consciousness, and that's what some might call the soul. Everything is technically made up of different frequencies that make up the so-called solids we interact with in our environment. It's a fascinating topic that connects dimensions and gets kind of crazy after a while, but what bugs me is that scientists largely ignore it. They pass it off as crazy. Well, so is gravity, so is levitating objects with vibrations, as the Egyptians were said to have done. All of this is crazy until it's proven to be true. Scientists were even largely insistent for centuries that the giant squid didn't exist, and now they're found all the time. Let's break these barriers and start accepting the fact that we know nothing, and we're on a vast spiritual journey to find answers, regardless of where it brings us and what it means for us as human beings. Like the market, everything in nature is there to solve a problem. It's an infinite loop of problems and solutions. Data. I wrote this status recently on float.app to viewers and readers. As I wrote, while there may be greater planes of existence outside of the realm we currently live in, that does not mean that this current plane of existence isn't important. Like the market, nature is a mathematical problem-solving machine. It provides solutions to every problem. If there wasn't a problem for you to fix, you wouldn't exist in nature. It just depends on whether you're willing to find that problem and solve it. We are computers, computing vast consciousness and analyzing millions of pieces of data a second. There is no such thing as quote-unquote pointless. Everything has a point, even if it's just a build-up to the next plane. Once you come to that realization that you're part of a greater machine and that, like the machine itself, you play your part in defining this plane of existence and keeping the wheels turning, then everything else in everyday life becomes far more trivial. You're just solving mathematical problems while your antennas absorb data via a vast frequency. None of this is pointless or stupid. Breaking away, I have to say, the most annoying things I hear people say is that everything is pointless, as well as that they're bored. Why? How is any of this boring? How is any of this pointless? This is absolutely the most entertaining existence one can ask for, at least as far as we're comprehending it thus far. I felt I needed to do this video. It's a shorter video, not breaking down my thoughts in their entirety, but I'm currently sick and I tend to get, lethargic and start daydreaming about the universe when I'm sick. I've been studying ancient civilizations throughout the world for a long time. I went to Mauritania, Africa, as many of you might know, last year, shooting my documentary Atlantis in the Desert. As I went to the reshot structure deep in the Sahara, I also spent time at ancient megalithic sites in Spain, Italy, and Greece. Most recently, I spent time in Turkey thanks to an awesome donor named Fred. Mostly in the south investigating, Derinkuyu, the underground city, Göbekli Tepe, another stunning ancient site that flipped scientific belief on its head, connected to the stars, of course, as well. Sister site Karahan Tepe, Haran, Mount Nemrut, Gorem, fairy chimneys, among other sites you can find most of our documentaries on in our Ancient Civilizations playlist. Some of the documentaries and reports are still to come. They're not easy to piece together, anyways, the magnitude of these sites I've visited have changed the wiring of my mind completely. It has opened me up to study the ancient belief systems of the people who allegedly built these megalithic sites throughout the world. These places literally rewrite history. They also delve into an interesting spiritual realm heavily involving space and time. Consciousness. They all appear to be greatly connected. The questions I've answered in my research has simply led to more questions, as they usually do. And that's the point I'm getting to here, is that as we journey through this universe and read stories like the one I read earlier, it brings to question reality itself. It reminds us that we know absolutely nothing, and I think that's a gift, one that we must hold more dear. Allow yourself to have that childlike wonder you had as a young kid. Certain barriers from school, media, and collectives restrict or stifle you from continuing down the path of childhood fascination. Everyone wants to be right, but no one seems to want to learn and admit ignorance. If only the scientific community and all the keyboard warriors acknowledged this, the world would be a better place. Then again, maybe some people out there do know something we don't, and for whatever reason, don't want that information in our hands. I've gone into this in a recent video regarding the Vatican Museum, which I visited, that seemed to blatantly slap people in the face with crazy symbolism telling a great story of the history of human civilizations. Meanwhile, as this article title says, from the New York Post from last year, scientists are trying to open a portal to a parallel universe. This universe is a strange place, isn't it? May as well build a parallel universe to make it twice as strange. Not sure how that's going to go down, though. Probably, playing with fire at the end of the day, or being remarkably arrogant. Anyways, I appreciate everyone watching. I know this was a strange video, and largely I've just been ranting. We haven't come to any conclusions here. I've got a lung infection I'm trying to get rid of, and my supplements are bringing out the strangest of thoughts in my mind. But I think these things need to be analyzed and spoken about more often. Let me know below what you think of this latest story, as well as the other cases I presented here today. Also, don't forget to hit that like button, check my Ancient Civilizations playlist to see similar content, including on-the-scene reports throughout the world at ancient sites. I've got a lot of content similar to this coming up soon. It's just a headache to edit and post such content, as I've got to post a video or so every day, or YouTube hides even more of my content and I go under. So consider checking the links below and helping out any way you can. We are insanely crazy shadow band here at WHAM, and we cannot survive without the help of all of you awesome people. Stay tuned as we continue to break down these issues. I should be heading to Guatemala in April, thanks to an awesome donor. And I'll be studying and reporting on pyramids deep in the jungle. But until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. Also, that galaxy killed itself, unlike Jeffrey Epstein. Like what you see here at Wham? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We cannot do it without you guys. Every donation is extremely, extremely appreciated as we're getting incredibly shadow banned. We've lost 80% of our audience since January of 2019 and counting. They are ripping us apart here on YouTube, and the only thing we could do in the meantime as we prepare for the next big step is to ask for help from the viewers that support our free information that we try to post on a daily basis. You can also find us on Subscribestar, where just $1 a month, that's all it takes, $1 a month is all it takes to truly make a huge difference. If everyone gave $1 a month, it would change everything for independent media, and we could win this information war, and we can defeat the mainstream medias eventually. And of course, on Subscribestar, we post subscriber-only content that you'll only see on Subscribestar. So make sure to pledge there, become a patron. That makes a huge difference, guys. And also, don't forget to check out our Bitcoin address below in the comments and description, as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on the alternatives. We will likely be deleted by YouTube in the next 2 years. It's already happening on a vast scale, so make sure to find us on float.app. That's flote.app. at Josh Sigurdson, as well as at Wham, W-A-M. Float.app is replacing every social media, and I mean, it's just incredible the opportunities it provides for not just creators, but for the average person who wants to get away from these nannies telling them what they can or cannot see. They plan to replace Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Tumblr, Reddit, and Patreon. You could subscribe to us on Float and pledge with cryptocurrency. It's really innovative. We are also on BitChute at World Alternative Media, as well as so many others, Minds, PocketNet. You can find us at World Alternative Media on Instagram. There's many options. And finally, don't forget to join us at Anarchapulco 2020, the famous event, the best Liberty event known to mankind, other than perhaps Anarcho Vegas 2020. There are 2 major events coming up that we are extremely excited about, and you can use promo code WHAM, that's W-A-M, and save 10% on your tickets to these legendary conferences. There's so many amazing people speaking there. You won't want to miss it. So make sure to support in any way you can, even if it's just sharing our videos, pressing like, pressing to be notified. Anything helps, folks. You are the change you wish to see. Thanks for watching, everyone. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.